even when you lost. There's always a hope. Rise and fight.
I want to see this match in particular because I've seen SquaLL just run over Terran before, but he's going up against Ultra, and I know that Ultras versus Zerg is very strong.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun matchup, to be quite honest with you. I have to give the advantage just ever so slightly to Ultra, but if SquaLL ends up winning this, I wouldn't be surprised. But it definitely is quite a close skill matchup. And, we'll have to see. I think, what's the map going to be for this? The first map is going to be Good Night, right? Yeah, of course. Good Night, definitely a good Zerg map, I think, for this matchup, especially going into late game. So we'll have to see. SquaLL, he was looking really strong against Janhoon until it kind of all suddenly fell apart from just a small mistake, really kind of mispositioning his Hydralisks. And generally you see that, I think, with players that are lacking a bit of experience is they just don't quite have that full-on confidence to be like, okay, this stage of the game, I just need my units here to just make sure nothing falls apart. And it's like a very easy decision to make, but it just takes so much kind of practice and experience to do that consistently. But I think if SquaLL just plays this game, plays really well, he has a good shot against Ultra.
Yeah, the one thing, looking at some of his, he actually sent me some replays in the background, which I want to thank him for. I was able to do some study. The one thing I did see SquaLL do occasionally is he was in positions where he might have even been able to skip lurkers to go into the 3-gate, and he opted for lurkers anyway in certain situations. So he does play very by the book, and so what we should see out of him is very standard 2-hatch Mutalisk into that 3-hatch, try to get to Ultralisk play. And what I kind of want to see out of Ultra is maybe going for that Engineering Bay before Academy build with that +1 upgrade, because SquaLL isn't one of those guys who typically is going to build a lot of Zerglings and test your front door.
Yeah.
So I think that Ultra will be able to get away with it, and that will put him in a really good position to deal with SquaLL, because SquaLL's bread and butter is his very strong mid-game Mutalisk micro.
Yeah, and the game is ready. Good Night is going to be the map. Let's get right into it. Ultra versus SquaLL in the losers match.
Starting in the upper right-hand corner as the blue Zerg, we have SquaLL.
And in the bottom left, as the red Terran, Chilean Terran player, it is Ultra.
Those Chilean Terrans, I tell you.
Yeah. Chilean player is really strong. I mean, there's Ultra, there's Tech.
Yeah, why is that? It just seems like there's just South American Terrans in general. There's something about South American Terrans.
Yeah.
The Terra down there. They're just, it seems like that region just produces really, really good Terran players.
Yeah, they just have a lot of Terran. Yeah, I don't know, man. Where are the Terran players in the rest of the world?
Yeah. Speaking of which, I guess while we're waiting for the game to ramp up, I do want to mention that the next season of BSL, we are going to have kind of the continental battles, which will be absolutely amazing. And all of that is going to basically play into some BSL points, which are going to go into the next season after that. So BSL 15 continental battles, BSL 16, we're going to have a big championship, which is honestly, it has a very, very World Cyber Games best player in the world feel.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be everything about BSL this year's insanely exciting, Diggity, and I just can't wait to see it unfold. Oh, we're just teleporting around the universe, going from one game to we're going from what's the metal tile set like in the, usually it's when they're fighting like in on like a battle cruiser, or they're fighting like on some space station or something. Anyway, yeah, space platform. We're going from the space platform to Ayer to Poland in the casting desk. But yeah, I mean, Diggity, I really have to mention, you're totally spot on in that pre-game analysis. I think an eBay build here for Ultra makes a lot of sense, especially against someone like SquaLL. Generally, the eBay builds, the +1 builds, they're a bit more susceptible to kind of weird play. But if you know your player, if you know your opponent's going to play straight up Mutalisks, it's really strong to open like that. So we'll have to see though. Ultra on good night, you generally go for that wall at your natural. Ultra did not go for that wall. So when he's going for bunker, actually he is only scouting with one SCV. Generally in this situation, you double scout to check for pull first. Very interesting opening from Ultra. And this bunker is actually gonna set him behind.
Yeah, so unfortunately, he's going up against a 12 hatch from SquaLL on the opposite side of the map. It looks like he is going to be able to sneak that SCV in to get the rest of the scouting information. But yeah, SquaLL was not intending to go with any early aggression. And so that bunker was minerals that could have gone to a command center. So it's going to set him a little bit behind where he could have been.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a bit indicative of how confident Ultra is feeling here against SquaLL. I think, you know, generally when players opt to open like this, their mindset is, you know, as long as I don't die and I get into the mid game, get into the late game, I am going to eventually grind out a win. But, you know, that is definitely a slower build order from Ultra. So we'll have to see if SquaLL can, you know, make use of his advantage.
Meantime, looks like that command center is going to come online. Second barracks going down, some very stereotypical stuff. I don't like the fact that he is going to go for the 2 racks before engineering bay build, just because I feel like that plays into SquaLL's strengths. But in the meantime, SquaLL doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and he's taking up to lair.
Everything about Ultra's build is hyper. I mean, you know, this is going to happen when you're going to have a Terran player playing. I'm just going to sit here and go on these rants about their build orders. But generally, I mean, here's the thing. Ultra went for a bunker. He went for a 3rd depot. He went for the 2nd racks before the gas. Generally, you get an academy off of just 2 depots. So here we have 3 depots and the gas isn't made until later. So his build is actually really, really slow, but it's really, really safe. Just means he has a lot of Marines. It's almost impossible for him to die to any kind of Ling all-in. But SquaLL, like you've been mentioning, I don't think he would ever Ling all-in him, actually. So this is perfectly playing into SquaLL's playstyle. And actually, SquaLL
went for a
3 hatch. So yeah. This is about as disastrous as it could be for Terran, strictly from a build order perspective.
Looks like he did manage to sneak in and see that 3rd hatchery at the very least. There weren't a lot of Zerglings dedicated to picking out that scout. But now what can SquaLL even do? He's in kind of, yeah, that standard bread and butter Terran build order with the 2 racks academy engineering bay. And in the meantime, SquaLL's gone up to 3 base, is gone basically, it looked like 3 hatch actually before Spire. He's got that Spire on the way, and his economy is sailing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, SquaLL has everything. He needs to basically set himself up for an extremely strong mid game. And at this stage of the game, I mean, with the build that Ultra has gone for, it's just impossible for him to pressure in any significant way. But also, he hasn't powered up. He doesn't have that 5 racks going, doesn't have that quick +1. So in this situation, if you're Terran, you scout this 3 hatch build. First thing that I'm thinking of is we got to put down the factory right away and try and get up to that 2-port ASAP, get to like a 7-minute 2-port, start the starports before even you start the turrets or something. But I just think he wasn't expecting this type of economic play. These 2 sunks are going to be more than enough, I think, to hold, especially with this ramp. I mean, SquaLL's just perfectly safe here. I think SquaLL made a couple too many sunks overall. I think he could have used Zerglings to defend, but I mean, he can afford it, right? Like, he's so far ahead economically.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if SquaLL's also opting to do that so he can be more aggressive with his Mutalisks in the mid game, because he really likes that Mutalisk aggression. I wouldn't be shocked to see him go +1 on those Mutalisks, even if he doesn't need to at this stage. But he's just, his Mutamicro, it's his bread and butter. It's something he's really, really good with. And it looks like he is gathering up a good flock of Mutalisks. And it looks like he might even be able to end around these Medic Marines and get back to the main and maybe create some havoc there.
Yeah, as Terran, you do not want to have your Marines out on the map when the Mutalisks are out. You know, you just need to defend your main base, and really there's no threatening a bust here, either at the natural or at the 3rd. So those Marines are really caught out, and they're not really denying any other bases as well. but we'll have to see if SquaLL's Mutalisk Micro is on par here. The thing is, he only has 6 Mutalisks, and that's not enough. I mean, that's not going to do anything, to be honest with you, and it's kind of a missed opportunity here. And if he does not go up to 11 Mutalisks here, I mean, I'm not too sure I like how SquaLL has played this. It probably would have been better for him to catch those Marines out. And actually, he's playing really fast Hive, but Terran's like at his doorstep.
Interesting. Yeah, so SquaLL push back. He's now engaging the Medic Marines, and wow, Ultra going for it against the 3 sunken colonies with the Mutalisks overhead. And wow, is he gonna break this? It looks like he's doing a significant amount of damage. 1 sunken already down, 2nd sunken down, 3rd sunken down, and now Ultra in SquaLL's natural expansion.
GG. Yeah, that was unfortunate. Just kind of strategic misplay, really.
That's so unfortunate, especially because I felt like SquaLL in the early portions of the match was at an advantage and was in a good place. And then, yeah, just it felt like, yeah, he got aggressive with the Mutalisks. There was a window where I felt like if he wasn't just poking at the natural expansion, where there were a bunch of turrets in place, he might have been able to get more utilized with those Mutalisks. But instead, I got to give it to Ultra there, finding room to get Medic Marines in position and to bust through the 3 sunken defense on the front door. I have to say that caught me by surprise that he was going for that, but also that he was able to execute. So kudos to Ultra. And that really has to, if I was SquaLL, I would be very deflated going to match 2.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think SquaLL just tried rushing through his build order too much. You know, he got the Hydra Den before even making any Mutalisks. He got the Queen's Nest before even getting up to 11 Mutalisks. And it's kind of like it's just a mistake you see from less experienced players, to be honest with you, is you have this general idea, like, I have to get Hive fast. You know, my game plan is to get the Hive. But you sacrifice your entire build order to get there. When really, as Zerg in that situation, just take your time, build up to 11 Mutalisks, clean up the Marines, then get your Hydra Den, then get your Queen's Nest. You don't have to get it all at the same time. And I think SquaLL just tried to do too much, too fast. And you saw not only did he not build up to the 11 Mutalisks, but he also started harassing with just 6 Mutalisks. It's like indicative of just feeling not confident and feeling stressed, like I need to do something, and you end up trying to do too much. Whereas Ultra didn't really do anything special that game. He just kind of it was really SquaLL's mistake there. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, I think it was SquaLL dropping the match rather than Ultra winning it at a certain point. Like, Ultra definitely capitalized, but it felt like a SquaLL drop. We're going to move into Metaverse for game number 2. In the bottom right-hand corner, we have SquaLL as the red Zerg.
And in the top left corner, Ultra as the blue Terran.
And I almost feel like what happened here is that SquaLL tried to play off meta, and he just is not comfortable playing off his standard meta. So I'm hoping what he does here is he goes back to just standard his bread and butter, which is the 2-hatch Mutalisk, then into 3rd and play from there.
Yeah, I think that's one way of looking at it. But I really just, what I saw there was for sure just inexperience. I think it was just, if you just feel more confident, if you just feel more comfortable with what you're doing, you just don't make those types of mistakes. Now, Metaverse, interesting map pick. You know, we can talk a bit about this map. It is one of the new ASL maps as well. I think this is going to be a fairly decent Zerg map. Generally, when you have these tucked away expansions, they don't really help Terran. And this is the type of map that, in a sense, also resembles Circuit Breaker, or in a sense also resembles, it resembles those big 4-player maps we used to see, where Zerg, if they end up taking, or like even what was the other map? Revolver. If Zerg ends up taking like another natural and then taking the main or vice versa and starts really splitting the map in two, it can be really kind of annoying for Terran to go into the late game. But conversely, Terran has nice access to a third base very nearby, and you know, all those bases that are tucked away, they are droppable. So we'll have to see as the meta unfolds around this map just exactly where the statistics take it. But I think in the early stages, when the players are still figuring out maps like this, I think it generally favors Zerg.
The things notable on Metaverse for me are just how many minerals. It just is a very mineral heavy map.
Yeah.
And secondarily, the vertical ramps where it's like top down. I'm not sure I've seen that on other maps, and it almost feels like the map maker is kind of showboating the fact that they can do that now.
Yeah.
So it's fun to see at least that aspect. In the meantime, it looks like we did see SquaLL go for that standard 12 hatchery, not saving a lot of Zerglings with that spawning pool to follow it up. In the meantime, yeah, not a front door blockade. It looks like we are seeing a 1-Rax. This time to expand, no bunker this time for Ultra.
Yeah, I have to mention that is something that's very nice about this map for Terran is one, you can get that wall off. It's not a link tight wall, but it'll be like the same kind of wall that you have on Eclipse where there's a small opening that you can easily block to prevent Zerglings from flooding you. And what's interesting about the design on this map is the minerals are tucked away. So actually for Zerg, you know, when we're talking about 2-hatch Muta, we're talking about Mutalisk harass, it's much harder for Zerg to harass the Terran player. So despite the fact that I was mentioning, I think Zerg is going to have kind of a comfortable time later on in the game with multiple expansion opportunities. I think Terran is going to have a very comfortable time in the mid game in this map, and that is crucial for Terran going into any TVZ. And once again, Ultra actually going for that 3 depot before gas, so playing ultra safe here against SquaLL.
Yeah, playing the absolute standard, going for 2-Rax before Academy, it looked like. I also have to mention, I really like that we switched back to classic graphics. And there was also a little maneuver that SquaLL did a little while ago where he just peeked the drone in underneath Marine Fire to confirm that the command center was there. I really like that he did that. A lot of Zerglings now starting to press out on the map. And I think, SquaLL now going back to what he's accustomed to and just going for his standard, get the Mutalisks out, try to press. What I have seen him do on a Kate. Ooh.
Wait a second, this is actually a lot of Lings, Diggity, and he's
never
go
mind
for it. There's no bunker. I just mentioned it is triple depot, so in theory he should have enough units to hold this, but all his Marines are actually out of position. He doesn't have a bunker. This natural is going to have to get evacuated, but there's no way these Lings are getting up the ramp. However, when you're basically preventing Terran from mining with half their SCVs, this is a win for sure for Zerg.
You know what's funny is this is where SquaLL fooled me even. I saw the Zerglings being produced. I'm like, he's just doing that to kill a scout probably, or be a little bit safer. But no, going very uncharacteristic and going for the Ling Flood, which is going to deny that natural expansion. Now it looks like that Spire is finished. And the Marines starting to stack up, but they just have to watch as those Zerglings are hanging out in the natural expansion, denying all of those minerals in the mid game.
Yeah, not only are they denying the minerals, Diggity, but they're going to prevent turrets from being placed. So even if Terran doesn't die here, it's going to be incredibly hard for Terran to retake their natural because Mutalisks are going to be out. And the Marines will have to basically fight against Mutaling naked. No bunker support, no turret support. Now, SquaLL made a ridiculous amount of Lings. So he is going to, at some point, have to repopulate his drone count unless he thinks he can end the game with just this 2-hatch. But I have a feeling, he's going to make a couple of Mutalisks here. Oh, he actually pushed out, but this fight is not really going well for Zerg. Hold that thought. He does clean it all up. A couple of Lings were actually fighting the command center, and a couple more Lings were fighting the Firebat plus medic combo. But shaving off all those Marines without any turrets, this is going to be so hard for Ultra to get this expansion, but these Mutalisks have to hurry up.
Mutalisks are making their way towards the natural expansion. They need to be there to support the Zerglings to help deny this as long as possible. The Zerglings trying to flood out. The Firebats chasing them down. Looks like they got 2 lines of fire out. But yeah, they need to get there before turrets are established. Now the Mutalisks moving in, picking off the Marines and the Fire Bats. And now SquaLL looks like he might have control over this natural expansion. And he's, instead of bothering with the natural, is going to go ahead and dive into the main with his Mutalisks and continue to do economic damage.
Yeah, this is I mean, Zerg, there's no losing this game. But SquaLL has to just make sure he doesn't overextend. Just don't lose these Mutalisks, keep them alive. He sees an opportunity here to kill SCVs, and that's fine. But once that turret is finished, just don't overextend. You know, as long as you make sure the Terran is not mining from the natural. You see he's trying to pick off SCVs with just 5 Mutalisks. Okay, that's good. But now here in this situation, this is where you win the game. Just make sure Terran never mines from this natural. It doesn't matter if these Mutalisks can get more damage. Oh, but actually a couple Fire Bats coming in. These were the Fire Bats that are chilling at the natural defending. They are going to cause some damage. Drones do go down, but only 2. Looking at the supply, 40 to 26 for SquaLL. And the command center goes down. I mean, this is absolute disaster for Terran.
This looks like that looked like it was going to be a juicy counterattack, especially if those Fire Bats were able to sit with those medics. Instead, SquaLL grouping up Mutalisks is going to take out turrets in the main and wipe out the Marine force that's there. And yeah, I don't see, even if SquaLL loses every single Mutalisk here, which I don't think he's going to clean up this medic Marine force. He's in firm control of this match.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, that was a bit of a mistake there. You saw SquaLL took a fight with just 4 Mutalisks, you know, losing mutas and stuff, but it doesn't matter. I mean, he's like light years ahead. It is literally impossible for Terran to come back. Like, Terran would basically have to, like, just build a time machine to kind of go forward into the future to catch up at this point. GG is called by Ultra, and SquaLL ties it up 1-1 with that mass link play.
SquaLL going off. So it was funny because in the background he's like, no, I'm just going to do standard meta play. That's what he's telling me. The tricky trickster. Instead, going for a big Ling flood in the middle really paid off. And it looked like there was that brief opportunity. It seems like both players playing a little bit nervously here. There was that brief moment where it looked like those Fire Bats were going to be able to do all sorts of damage at the natural expansion. But because they ended up getting segregated from that medic, they just weren't able to capitalize and get as much damage done as they would have otherwise. So it seems like, both players playing a little bit on edge in this tournament format.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see now, because it is going to come down to the wire here between Ultra and SquaLL. Game number 3. It is going to be Ultra's map pick. It was surprising there because Ultra, SquaLL kind of pulled a quick one. But Ultra really, he was out of position. I mean, he had those Marines he wasn't doing anything. He was managing back at base, and he just had a couple Marines start wandering out onto the map that got picked off. And, you know, that's uncharacteristic mistake, right? Like, that's an unforced error. I think if he had all his Marines in position, that would have helped him as well. I mean, he had more than enough Marines, but definitely needed a bunker, definitely needed, you just can't abandon your command center there. But yeah, I mean, that was a good play from SquaLL for sure.
It's funny because game 1, we're like, I don't know that SquaLL will ever do a Ling.
Yeah.
Literally last match.
Yeah.
And here's SquaLL, maybe he's getting ears in the cast. He's like,
you know what, Diggity, I feel like that actually happens quite a bit in tournament play. I think especially when you lose a game, let's say especially like the game that, like last game, and you've been feeling nerves, right? Like those tournament nerves. Something happens when you lose a game where you just stop caring. You're like kind of let go. You're like, you know what? I might lose. But you start getting this confidence that comes from not caring about losing anymore. And you just do whatever. Yeah, exactly. And I think that maybe happened. Yeah. And SquaLL is just like, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to go for this mix up. I know he's not expecting it, and it worked. And now, I mean, he's going to be feeling... There's no doubt in my mind there are no nerves here for SquaLL. He's going to probably be feeling really comfortable, but it's up to him to just perform as well, right?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting going into match 3. Is everything's shaken out. Both players have struck and kind of almost, what do I want to say, taken a match from one another. It almost feels like the way to put it. But even last game, we saw how aggressive SquaLL was, where even when he didn't need to, when he could have backed off with the mule, was still diving into the main and trying to be punishing there. What map would you choose in this situation if you were Ultra with this map pool?
Honestly, I have no idea. I think probably I would go for something like Eclipse. It's very standard. I mean, there's so many good maps really. Oh, he's going for
Monopoly.
Monopoly. That's wow. That is really interesting, Diggity. That is going to be game number 3.
No SCV pull this time, hopefully, or maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Take
But
two.
Take two going into game 3. All right, in the upper left-hand corner, this time keeping SCVs in base, we have Ultra as the blue Terran.
And in the mid right here, it is SquaLL as the red Zerg.
I'm wondering if this is also Monopoly. It's, I think, one of the lesser played maps. I'm wondering if this is a decision on Ultra, knowing SquaLL's tendency to be more of a hardline meta player, to maybe throw him a bit off balance. Because this could be one of those maps that SquaLL just didn't prepare for, potentially. And I've seen that here and there. So I'm wondering if that was the choice with Monopoly. What are your thoughts on the map choice?
I really don't know, Diggity. I think Monopoly in this matchup is actually quite tricky for Terran, especially if you're used to playing Standard. I think this map actually, if you play kind of like the normal bio 2 racks type play, it's just good for Zerg. They can kind of expand easily away from the Terran. If you go SK, it's just going to be a nightmare to keep Zerg down from expanding nonstop. So if you look at the pro scene, what the pro players were doing when the map first came out, they actually went pretty often for stuff like 2-port Wraith, because of how, you know, close the rush distances are, or the air distances are, but also because playing Standard here just seems kind of tricky. Now, Ultra is not walling his natural or his ramp, so it's for sure not going to be 2-port Wraith. But alternatively, if you're not going to go bio, which I think Ultra will end up just playing Standard, but this is the type of map where you might end up seeing mech.
Yeah, I was wondering if we're going to see something like a 1-1-1 or a mech opener. We'll have to see if Ultra transitions into this. He has not grabbed his refinery yet, so hasn't made any motions towards doing that, and actually saving a bunch of resources. So maybe just going to go for a very quick expansion here. In the meantime, it looks like SquaLL has gone for the standard 12 hatch. He's got the spawning pool down, and his just doing standard typical things that SquaLL does.
Yeah, again, I mean, this map just it's strange. It really is strange to me to pick this as Terran. I think Metaverse is actually a good map for Terran, but I actually think Monopoly, it just, if you are planning on playing Standard, this is just not the map you want to play on. So still eager to see what Ultra is going to do given that. But SquaLL has no reason not to just play normally. I would have liked maybe seeing SquaLL or Ultra go for something like an 8 racks even. But even on this map, like, where do you place the 8 racks? Because like, if you committed more to the right side of the map, anyway, I don't know. It's just weird. But Ultra so far is playing very Standard.
It's good. Yeah, that 1 Rax has moved into expansion. Still has not grabbed that Vespene Geyser, so he's still not mining gas. Supply depot in the front, no bunker this time. And I'm wondering if once SquaLL runs up and looks like he is moving out Zerglings. Oh, he's got 6 Zerglings out. He is pressing the front, so the 4 Marines are going to have their work cut out for them. Potentially, it looks like 2 Zerglings are going to break back against that. But he's just gone, yeah, standard 2 hatch thus far. Nothing surprising here from SquaLL.
Yeah, I mean, the 6lings are a bit of a commitment early on, since, you know, generally you want to keep that Zergling count down. Every drone really matters, especially when you go something like 2 hatch. 6lings really kind of, one, are meant to force bunkers specifically when Terran opens with something like a 16 command center, which wasn't the case here. Or they're meant to kill the SCVs right away. But this time around, SquaLL not really getting the value out of those 6lings, because of course Ultra has been favoring this triple depot follow-up to his expansion, which is super safe. And yeah, I mean, just an interesting build here from both players, but no one carving out an edge quite yet. I mean, in general, I think if I'm Zerg, I'm feeling confident against this triple depot play, because with the 3 depots, like, you don't have range as fast, you don't have the +1 as fast. It really means your Mutalisks can do a lot of work when they initially come out, but I've yet to see SquaLL kind of confidently use them to gain an edge.
Interesting drone. I wonder if that was misrallied, kind of hanging out at the front door briefly there for SquaLL. Spire's not that far off from spawning, but yeah, I think you're right. This is very standard meta play. So for all of our talk this far, like SquaLL going meta, so kind of mismetting twice, and I'm wondering if this is finally going to be the game. But this is now looking like a textbook TVT, like very standard 2-hatch, grabbing the third, trying to potentially push to Ultralist, going 2 racks, Academy, Engineering Bay behind it. So nothing. So no mech switch. Looks like we're getting that comsat station here. Just 6 Zerglings out in the front, kind of camping to make sure no additional SCV scouts can sneak out. It looks like that expansion's been grabbed at 6 o'clock.
This eBay is cutting it really close. It's still not done. The Mutalisks are morphing. He's gonna have to put down the turrets ASAP. And look at how many Marines Ultra has. But these Marines, they don't have range. They're not going to have range for a really long time. So it doesn't matter if you have 20 of them or 10 or 20 of them. They need range to fight against Mutalisks. But it's really up to SquaLL to have kind of Muta control that's up to scrap to punish this. Looks like the turrets are going to finish just in time, but that's just 2 Mutalisks. SquaLL again, you can see he's really eager to do something, but just needs to collect his Muta count up. And these Marines, they don't have range, Diggity. It's impossible for them to have range given the opening. You can see that. Did he actually forget range?
Not sure, but
there's no way he has range. I mean, if he has range, I don't know. It just started. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say I've been playing on a different patch, or maybe this is a different map. It's the Last Shadow map or something. But the range just started, Diggity, and let me tell you, rangeless Marines cannot fight against Mutalisks. So SquaLL has to punish this.
But he's flubbing a bit of his Muta micro there and just diving on top of, just overhead the Marines. He also flubbed a little bit earlier, the Marines getting aggressive and clearing out the Zerglings. Well, they really weren't gathered. So SquaLL losing some opportunities, might lose his Overlord despite the lack of range there. So gets that picked up. That's going to put him into the red. He does have the 2 sunken colonies on the front, but SquaLL has taken a lot of damage and isn't able to capitalize here.
I don't like seeing this Hydralisk Diggity again. He's playing how he played. Oh, he's already got lurkers out. So these Mutalisks really just did absolutely nothing, and it's not going to punish this build from Ultra. And unfortunately, Ultra somehow not only... I mean, Ultra is greedy out of his mind this game. His eBay was so late. His factory is insanely early. He actually started before the range. And despite that, he moved out with his first group of Marines. None of this should ever work, ever, in any reality of StarCraft Brood War, Diggity, should it ever work. But unfortunately, SquaLL, just not playing solidly enough here, should have instantly killed those Marines and just ran away with the game. But now, getting these lurkers out is actually going to play into Ultra's favor, because look at how much space Ultra has now on the map. His units are already out close to SquaLL's Nat, means he can run the tanks forward without any hesitance and just start sieging the Nat.
Yeah, and there's that first siege tank moving out. Maybe SquaLL can swing around. Another Overlord taking some damage there in the corner. Maybe he can swing around with the Mutalisks, pick off that siege tank, buy himself some time. He's marching the lurkers out while that comsat was dropped. But yeah, I don't know that this is going to work out. Looks like Ultra's moving towards that 6 o'clock base. Siege tank still holding up. He's going to wait for that science vessel before proceeding forward.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of has to. There's no... Oh, those lurkers weren't on hold position. Another missed opportunity for SquaLL. He really needs to just recognize that there's no vessel, so it's impossible for Terran to know where your lurkers are. Just have your... Oh, no, the lurker's still not on hold position, unfortunately. I mean, Ultra reacts really fast, but he's going to get it. Diggity, it just pains me to see this, because if SquaLL just plays a bit more calm, just keep these just build up your units, progress your build order, just make these solid decisions. But he's just trying too hard right now, just kind of all over the place, and Ultra not getting punished for anything.
In the meantime, though, it looks like that medic Marine force was wiped out, so Ultra is going to have another opportunity as he moves out with the science vessel, the siege tank, and the Marine army that's pressing out now. And actually, are there medics with that army? Both players making, feels like, critical mistakes here. There's kind of flubs here and there. Okay, it looks like there are some medics alongside. Hive Tech on the way for SquaLL, continuing to morph additional lurkers to try to hold this. So we'll see if Ultra is going to be able to punch through with these siege tanks, with this medic marine army, and that, yeah, I don't know. This is going to be tough for SquaLL to defend.
Yeah, I mean, SquaLL, just the way that the builds line up, this is not favorable for Zerg whatsoever, because the timing on this tank vessel push is so early, and there's no Defiler mound. I mean, I'm sure the Defiler mound is finished, but by the time Defilers are out, these tanks are gonna... Is it even finished? No, it's still morphing.
No, still morphing.
Yeah. Well, Zerg's dead. I mean, there's no stopping this.
So SquaLL maybe, well, he's got those science, so science vessels already peaked out. There's a bunch of stacked lurkers there. If he can hold time to get that Defiler out, so Defiler mount's finished, it's going to be a long time before that Defiler's there, and the siege tanks are here on the front line, already sieging up. The Marines behind it. The Mutalisks didn't swing around and didn't pick any stragglers off, and all of the lurkers getting obliterated. There's GG. SquaLL falls in this match. Ultra will advance to take on,
John Hoon.
John Hoon in the winners match. That was in the final match. That was rough.
Yeah, that was honestly very rough. I mean, for both players, to be completely honest with you, Diggity, but I think Ultra is, you know, he's kind of a mainstay in the BSL. I think he's used to playing at the Pro League level. So kind of getting away with it, especially in this matchup in TVZ, I think it's, you know, as Zerg, you really need to be solid to, like, you know, it's kind of like a TVP, you know, Terran really has to be solid in TVP. Zerg has to really be solid in ZVT. Protoss has to be really solid in PvZ. And if you're not punishing your opponent for these mistakes, like no range move out, you're gonna quickly fall behind. So unfortunate there for SquaLL, but I think, you know, that was his first showing in the Pro League, at least in a long time. He should be proud that he played, you know, he played good game against John Hoon. He did win a game here against Ultra, so hopefully next season he can bounce back and have a better showing in the round of 24.